And we are back here at the Government Blockchain Association event. Hats off to these guys. Another great event. Nice venue too. Wonderful people. I have with me here Kyle Hauptman, and he is the Vice Chairman of the National Credit Union Administration, which is an appointed position. I know how those can be. I'm a local here, so it's a lot of fun, I'm sure, and you're doing a lot of important stuff. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what brought you here to this event.
Yeah, I'm interested in this space in general, digital assets, and as part of my job, I see it as I don't want to see credit unions slowly go the way of Blockbuster Video because their regulator wouldn't let them compete. And if you know what FDIC is for banks, provides insurance, $250,000 an account. We did the same thing at NCUA. It's just a separate entity, a separate insurance fund for America's 4,700 credit unions.
Well, it is pretty interesting. It's something that what did we have? We had 3 banks fail last year, right?
Yep.
Or 3 or 5, whatever it was. And that really took a hit, I feel like, out of FDIC.
It took about 10% of their fund.
Right?
Yeah. They have ballpark $200 billion, and this was 20-something billion gone from it. I'm certainly not here to knock the FDIC and say I would have done it any better. That happened partly because Silicon Valley Bank had giant business accounts.
Okay.
Credit unions generally don't. Who has $500 million in checking?
Well, yeah, that's what we were talking about off screen, right?
Yeah. So, like Roku, the streaming app, it had $487 million. Is the one I remember. Okay. So, in one account, and you're insured for $250,000. So, $486.75 million was not insured.
Wow.
And they had a lot of situations like that, kind of unique. But yeah, that was a trying time.
That was a trying time. Now, you're here in Washington, obviously working on the Hill, talking with these people that are here. Now, a lot of this stuff can be backed legislatively. And even there was something that sunsetted over the last few months, if I understand correctly, some type of legislation. Is that correct? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Legislation sunsets all the time. What are you referring to?
Some part that bails out the banks if they get into this, so they don't have to dip into the FDIC fund or your fund.
So when it comes to share insurance, most financial regulation in America was developed from disasters, right or wrong.
Okay.
The Great Depression created deposit insurance. It's why banks have to be open the Friday after Thanksgiving, because you can never be closed more than 3 days in a row. That's an American thing.
Okay.
Because the bank back then would close and you just never see them again. That's why
we're not ready to open up yet.
That's why the stock market's open the Friday after Thanksgiving. Anyway, and then 9/11 created some stuff on BSA AML, and then the financial crisis created a lot of things. But there was talk about raising that limit $250,000, for business accounts. The whole thing with Silicon Valley Bank, the reason regular people cared is not to bail out VC funds and their investments.
Right.
It's this whole thing was Thursday and Friday. Yeah. If you remember that, they're going to run payroll, right? So, and there was talk, should we raise it to $1 million, for business accounts, or pick another number, $10 million for accounts you run payroll through, for government insurance. And I understand that merit, and we'll do whatever Congress says, obviously. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, the solution is there is a private deposit insurance market. Banks and credit unions have lots of insurance policies, property, casualty, et cetera.
Okay.
So I think that's the long-run solution. I would think most Americans would want someone else writing checks before the government has to get in on a bailout, right?
You want music to my ears, for sure. Yeah.
And it does exist, private share insurance. It's just no one's going to buy it unless it's clear that they're on the hook for it, right? So,
interesting stuff. So it sounds like it's fast-moving business, right? There's a lot to it. You would think that it's not changing that much, but it sounds like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, going back to last year, that was the biggest event. So interest rate risk is like a big thing we're looking at now because we often fight the last war, and the biggest event in my world last year was the Silicon Valley Bank failure. And what kills me is that was basic balance sheet management that brought them down. All the cool stuff they did for that industry was not what brought them down.
Okay.
And now that bank is gone forever. It's part of a bigger bank, but it is unique about the United States. We have all these niche banks. Canada's basically 6 for the whole country. Everybody has one of those.
Right.
Imagine if all we had was Citi, Wells, JPM.
Right.
Well, we've got ones that we have credit unions that know the Haitian community. Who else answers the phone in Haitian Creole?
Right.
I'm from Maine originally. We got ones that know the lobster industry, banks. And they know the names of the types of boats, and they know that the weather is going to affect the cash flows. That's a unique thing about America, and I think most people want to keep that. Very niche, that know their community or the industry or the group they serve. It's unique to America, and I think we want to keep it.
Well, that is really cool. So talk to a little bit more about the administration.
Yes, yeah. So we're a three-member board, all appointed by the president and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. We don't serve in the presidential administration. It's an independent agency, just like the Federal Reserve is, just like FDIC and SEC. So they're fixed terms. Mine ends next year. And it's a hell of a process to go through, just the whole presidential nomination process, especially when you have to go before the Senate and they answer questions from them as part of your job interview. You have to do that.
That's a heck of an interview,
yes,
right?
It's nerve-wracking. You practice it ahead of time. People play the senators, and throw questions at you. You practice. They call
sure.
They call it murder boarding.
Okay.
But I'm here because I have no illusions that technology is not going to cause problems.
Yeah.
That digital assets are not going to cause problems.
Yeah.
That AI is not going to cause problems. It definitely will.
Yep.
I know it will. Do you know that there were 0 car crashes before we had cars? But guess what? Out in the street behind us, nobody's on a horse.
Yeah.
Not going back.
Yeah.
So mine is putting on my America hat, not so much my NCUA hat, but that we can dominate these new industries. America can, just like we did the internet.
Right.
Everybody got the downsides. You're going to get the downsides no matter what. Everywhere in the world has computer viruses.
Right.
Only some countries have good paying jobs in antivirus software.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have a cybersecurity industry. It pays well. Do you know any unemployed people who are good at cybersecurity? No, I don't either, right? But everybody has cyber attacks. You're going to get the negatives. And the AI, deep fakes, right? But we're very good at grabbing the upside in this country if the government will let Americans do what they do best, which is monetize new technologies to create jobs. Because you're going to get the downside one way or the other. And I think it's just who gets paid for the upside. That's kind of my guiding thing.
Well, I think that sounds great. It's so important, and that's one of the things I feel like a lot. I can tell you, I'm around the world all the time. People are scared to do business here. They're scared to come here with any type of blockchain.
Doesn't it pain you?
Of course.
This is law-abiding people, legit businesses offering services people want. I mean, that's what we do. Is we find solutions, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in the world lost their video rental jobs, right?
Yeah.
We lost them, and our friends in Canada and Mexico too.
Right.
But we, on the other hand, have the headquarters for Hulu and Netflix and the jobs and the local investors that got in big, the employees that got in early, life-changing, right?
Yes.
The pension funds that were in there. You're going to get the negative and the positive, and it kills me to see I'd rather not invest in America. I'd rather not found my company in America.
Right.
I'm less likely to find a job in America. It's just not how we were raised.
Yeah.
Nobody in Miami gets in a raft to get to Cuba.
Right.
Right. We were always a place people want to go to. Right. And it's just a shame to see smart people and things happen elsewhere,
Well, that is really interesting. Very good points as well. I mean, obviously, this is you're used to saying this stuff, but it's important. It's important that you're here and you are saying it. So you mentioned that there are 2 maybe initiatives or something that you did with.
We put out a couple pieces of positive guidance, and that's signaling, right? One of them, and I'll be bipartisan here. I'm a Republican nominee, but was just sort of broad principles around blockchain, modeled after what I think is one of the best things that's happened since I've been alive in economic policy. 1997, Clinton-Gore administration. Bill Clinton was in the White House, Democrat, and they put out 5 principles for this new thing called the internet. It's bizarre to read it right now, but number 1, the private sector shall lead. And that was a signal. They posted on whitehouse.gov, which had only existed for 2 years at that point. And it was a signal from upon high that we're going to see how this thing plays out. And, maybe update some laws because bad guys will always use the new thing for a scam. But, fraud's already illegal. Internet's a new way to do it. Anyway, we put out broad principles. And there is more experimentation on the credit union side and the bank side. And I've made it a priority and had, internally in our 3-member board, the deal making,
Right.
I'm very proud of it. The other financial regulators, right or wrong, obviously I think it's the wrong path. But the other financial regulators have been anywhere from hostile to neutral.
Okay.
On digital assets in general. And I think they might have gotten a little confused by the bad stuff with crypto, with a capital of a C, rather than the use of it.
Right.
Right. Stable coins to pay for things and blockchain-based identification.
Yes.
Isn't it a shame? You say, I wish I wasn't,
No, it's crazy. And I saw.
I'm better off I was outside America. No, only bad guys should say that.
Listen, I did a lot of work over the years outside of America for just those reasons. There's not that there wasn't a lot of guidance. There wasn't a lot of guidance. So speaking, and I know they're ringing the bell. I know he's going to be on stage here in a minute. we had Michael Saylor just came out with his new identity. You mentioned identity. I don't know if you saw it this week. He's had an identity product that he's launching on Bitcoin.
It's neat. I mean, not only I don't know that product, but credit unions are using it, to know the basics of KYC, know your customer,
Right?
Who is paying who, etc. And onboarding of a new member, that's what credit unions call customers, members, is much faster.
Yep.
Fraud reduction, which as an insurer we care about a lot. 4 of the 7 credit unions we had to take over last year because of fraud.
Yep.
Fraud reduction and useful. And also, I think, our whole ID system, even in this country, is a little odd. The guy at the liquor store doesn't need to know your address.
All right.
Are you of legal drinking age or not?
Right.
Right.
This is like identity A1A. This is what we've been talking about.
You should give the information you need. Are you of drinking age or whatever?
I pass. That's all you need to know.
And in return, I'm giving my license to operate an automobile in the District of Columbia.
Right.
That's what gets me on an airplane.
Right.
So if that expired, I'm still Kyle Hauptman.
Right.
I can't drive a car.
Right.
But I can't go on a plane. It's a little clunky, isn't it?
It is.
So very neat stuff. And I'm hoping that the U.S. government finally understands that whatever they think about crypto, it's a separate topic. But, there was a difference between buying an internet stock and then your company having email and having a website and using things, right? There's a difference. And so the future is bright. And my only concern, I'm trying to do my little part, is to make sure America does what it does best and captures the most upside from disruptive things.
Well, it's a big part, Kyle. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
We'll see you soon.
All right.